Hope you're doing well. So I'll show you how the scraper block works and we'll try to scrape hacker news. So first thing we need to do is create a selector. So the selector is what will help us get data from the DOM. So now I can go to hacker news and I can do inspect element. So here we can see that the text that we need and the URL we need are part of this A tag, and this A tag is a child of this class.title line. So we need to do some tests to make sure we get our data correctly. So I can say document.query selector and then .title line. So since it's a class, I'll use a dot. If it was ID, I'd use a hash. So .title line, and then I can say this. So this greater than arrow says give the child of title line. So if I do this, you can see I get the A tag. So this is good. And if I look closer, this has two A tags. So if instead of like title line A, if I did this instead of the child, and I did query selector all, so query selector all gives me all possible values. So it's giving me 60, but each hacker news page has like 30 items. So that's a problem. But if I do this child, then I get 30 items. So this is like a good way to test and to learn like these things. There's like it's just very simple CSS. And I can send like a blog on how to like get good with selectors. But the basic idea is to come up with this selector value. So in this case, it's .title line, then the child of it, which is A. Okay, awesome. So now I can just like copy this, and the query here takes in my selector. So I can just connect start to enter, and now I've given my selector. Now the value I need is the text, which is this value. So I just give it as text. There's no property needed for text, and then I save this as title. Okay, awesome. And this will be a list because I need all 30 of those. So I just need to do query selector all instead of query selector. So it's a list. So this is good. And now I need another selector to get the link. So I'll again say create a selector. So this time I'll just connect exit to enter. My query will be the same. So I can just copy this from here, .title line, and then greater than, which is child, is A. And then the type here is attribute. So if I go to my DOM here, I can see that A href. So this is the value that I want. So this is the attribute, and then this is the URL that I need. So I'll say attribute and the property is href. And I want to save this as link. And this is also a list. There'll be a link for each title. Okay. So there's one more thing that we can get, which is these points. So I can just inspect on this, and we can see that this is a simple score. So I'll just come to my console, do document.query selector all, and then .score, and we can see that we get, so we can see we got our like 29 results, which is good. This is what we need. So I'll just come in here, create a new selector. And in query, I'll say .score. So it has a class name of score, and the type would be text, and we'll save it as score, and this is also a list. Okay, so now what we need to do is like this output selector of each block, we can just pass it to the next block. So this allows us to chain these selectors. So this value is the selector for this. This value contains the selectors for both, and this value contains the selector for all three. So this is good. And finally, I need to scrape. So in this case, I have one page, the Y Combinator homepage. So this is the URL. I'll just copy, and in scraper page, I can just paste my URL. I'll connect the exit to enter. I'll pass the selectors here. And then values is where I'll get my output. So I'll just create a new output. I'll call it news. Data type would be JSON. And then I'll collect exit to end and values to news. Okay, awesome. So my API is ready, and now I can just click on play. So my selectors are getting created. Here I get all three selectors, and I can check. So I have three selectors, and then finally I scrape my page, and I can see the values. So we got all the titles, we got all the links for each, and we also got the scores for each. Okay, awesome. So now I can just save publish now, and now this is an API and I can run this in the browser and I get all of my data here. Awesome.